Emergency Management Agency is now defining the criteria for those who will qualify for hurricane assistance. Good evening, everyone. I'm Chris Saunders.
And I'm Charisma Robinson. Already, the government has issued a 180-day exigency order allowing storm victims to bring in certain items duty and tax-free. Banks were also urged to relax lending standards, cutting some of the red tape when borrowing.
Tonight, Clint Watson gives us a breakdown of all the aid government is providing and to what extent it will cause the national debt to rise.
Thanks to Hurricane Matthew and last year's Storm Joaquin, the government bears a burden of $750 million. Breaking it down further, Prime Minister the Right Honorable Perry Christie says the country must digest having a mounting deficit and little opportunity for international aid outstanding of donations.
Outside of our country, there is a perception that we could pay our way. And it is enormously difficult for our country in terms of that perception. We were in the midst of recovery when Joaquin came. We were doing exceptionally well with respect to narrowing the difference between what we spend and what we earn. We were headed this year to a $99.5 million deficit by projections. Now, just $150 million added to it takes it in a completely different direction.
Yet, despite this, Prime Minister Christie says they continue to implement a number of programs to assist residents, and in particular, the public service.
And we have promulgated a new line of borrowings that are connected to the Bank of the Bahamas, and that will, in fact, be administered by the Bank of the Bahamas as opposed to the government of the Bahamas, and that in varying stages you are able to borrow $5,000, $10,000, but if anything over $10,000, you need the approval of the financial secretary of the Bahamas. But this is again a loan for public officers who have suffered also, and they will be able to access that. In the meantime, NEMA and Minister Gibson will be defining the criteria for aid and assistance because of the thousands of Bahamians who have been extraordinarily and negatively impacted. We have to exercise the greatest care as we move forward, bearing in mind that estimates are indicating.
The central bank has also stepped in to assist the country. Aside from a cash donation to NEMA of $150,000, the bank has made lending in the country easier during this period. Governor John Roll made the announcement.
October 11th, the central bank agreed to relax the guidelines on commercial bank lending for hurricane relief purposes. And so loans obtained do not require borrowers to make the minimum down payment of 15%, which they would ordinarily have to do for other personal loans. Commercial banks, in the context of this relaxation, also can accommodate higher debt servicing arrangements on hurricane facilities of up to 55% of monthly salaries as compared to the 45% limit that would ordinarily apply to borrowers. So taken together with the other accommodations that commercial banks are providing, such as extending the repayment terms on loans, persons would qualify for larger loan amounts than the ordinary to help them get back on their feet. We're also aware that credit unions are being very flexible in accommodating customers and helping them to restructure their financial affairs.
But with the country's debt now rising as a result of this storm and the need for government to relax certain taxes to help people, can the country sustain the possible negative financial outcome? Prime Minister Christie feels they have a plan.
The Ministry of Finance has advised me that based on studies we have done and based on revenue projections, which are not based on what is collected, but what could be collected, that we are in good stead, and that for the time being, if we work on collecting revenue that is available to the government and doing so assiduously, then we will be able to meet the costs of reconstruction and recovery without having to go much further in our borrowings, and most certainly it will enable us to be able to pay virtually what is a loan over a limited period of time.
The Prime Minister is inviting businesses from the private sector to participate in the bond offering, as $30 million of that $150 million bond will be available for local businesses to buy. Clint Watson, ZNS Network News.